Hello everybody. I'd like to welcome you to this special video where I'm going to basically, well, you see the title up there, it's basically I'm going to shoot on the Sonic the Hedgehog comic book for the past year. Basically the current run of basically the past year run on the Sonic the Hedgehog comic book from Archie Comics. So I hope you all enjoy this. And I know you might have questions, it might raise a few eyebrows, so maybe, maybe not. But again, it's just me shooting, being straightforward with you guys on the Sonic the Hedgehog comic book and its current run throughout the past year. So let's get started, shall we? I think when he did Genesis, I think when Ian Flynn did Genesis, it was, well, first of all, let's be honest, he did it because it was the 20th anniversary of the franchise, and I think basically, from what I understand, Sega wanted him to do something in celebration of that. And I think Ian Flynn, with all due respect, saw an opening to where he can basically introduce the newer readers and the newer fans to the comic and to the characters, because you know, we got to be honest with ourselves here. It's more like the franchise is divided into many fan bases, and one of the major portions, one of the major fan bases in the franchise is the fan base that's focused mainly on the game characters. There's more that love the games more than they do anything else, and that's basically how they get introduced to the comics. So to me, I think when he did it one to, like I say, you know, he did it for one to kind of celebrate the 20th anniversary, but he also did it, in my opinion, to introduce newer fans to the established characters through a situation, through a scene, through an environment that, you know, being just being fans of the games and the game characters that they would be more familiar with. Also, it's kind of a reimagining of how it would be, of how it would have been had Sonic met his friends, you know, met his friends kind of like by going through the worlds of Sonic the Hedgehog 1 and 2, the video games, going through those worlds, and basically being, you know, that way of being that way of how he met his friends. So honestly, I think that's where Genesis started, and I believe Ian Flynn knew he was going to, you know, do this somehow to connect it to the continuity. And I think it was also, in my modest opinion, and I'm being straight with you, I think this was also just another way of trying to show that even though a lot of fans nowadays look at a character like Eggman as being a you know, a dimwit of a villain, you know, someone that really can't do much, kind of making more of a viable threat now, basically saying, hey, you know, I had him you know, because basically Ian for almost a year had Eggman all insane, all cracked up and everything, so he pretty much figures, you know what, I'm making up for that by making Eggman seem more threatening now, and to the point that he's willing to do whatever it takes to achieve victory, even if he's got to wipe out the world and reimagine it in his image or something like that. So, but yeah, I think that's what he had planned for. I think that's what he accomplished with Genesis, and the way it tied in to the rest of the comics afterwards was, well, let's just say even to this day, it's kind of interesting. One of my thoughts on some of the directions and changes that Ian Flynn has taken the story and some of the characters even during this current story arc. Well, I think you also have to look before this arc and even Genesis began. You know, a lot of fans have had, I mean, honestly, a lot of fans have been very mixed about how certain things have been written down and you know, made. I mean, basically, I mean, I'm not going to deny what Ian Flynn did with the populist deal. I mean, some have the differences about it. Me, you know, it's kind of the classic deal. It's kind of an old classic nostalgia thing going on there. I mean, basically, you have an evil wizard who, like Naugus, basically seeing an opportunity and taking advantage of it. He sees basically and hears and sees basically about the populace. The citizens and the populace of New Mobotropolis being scared, being frightened of Nicole and not sure what to do. I'm not sure if they could trust her because they didn't know she was playing double agent, and they're not sure if she will be capable, and basically being afraid of her losing control again. So, honestly, it's kind of that classic nostalgic thing that you've seen in other kinds of media, and so I think that was interesting. What I have to say before that, though, the one thing that did kind of lead to that, the Jeffrey heel turn, is we would call it a betrayal turn. I just don't know why there was a reasoning for it. I mean, I understand Ian Flynn wants to make the stories, make the characters his own in a sense. By doing things normally the previous writers would not have. But I just don't see how that could be in a sense. How that can really be. How that makes sense. I mean, you would think. I mean, honestly, let's be honest. You would think that the writers would have at least done something to give you a hint to that. Just not have somebody come out of nowhere and throw it in there. But that's what he did with Jeffrey and the Jeffrey character, and we just got to go with it. It seems things are going to look kind of going. It seems that the Jeffrey character seems to be redeeming himself in the stories as we speak, and that's a good thing. With consequences, though, which is bad. The other things that take place, like Bunny, for example, a lot of people look at the Bunny situation. They say, well, in the Girls' Rules Sonic Super Special years ago, it was basically confirmed and indicated and shown that she would never be roboticized again, and yet, as some fans put it, Ian Flynn does a Deus Ex Machina with her, and it's like, she wasn't supposed to be de-roboticized. That's not supposed to happen, no matter what. And then, what he did with Antoine, a lot of people are questionable about that. Basically, the change in characters, like you have Bunny walking, basically taking off to do whatever she has to do. You're having Antoine in a coma. You're having Bunny de-roboticized for no apparent reason. You have Jeffrey heel turn. You have Sally, we have Sally being roboticized and then weaponized. A lot of things have gone on. You have characters acting out of character, as some fans have noticed. And, to me, it's like, you just got to let him, you got to see where he's going to go with it. I mean, that's all you can really do. You got to see where he's going to go with this and how he's going to progress the storyline as we get further and further along. So, honestly, though, I'm kind of like, I've said this before, I'm kind of in the middle of what's going on here. I've been specific about some things I like and some things I don't. Which is Ian's decision to roboticize and then weaponize Sally, in my opinion, I think was a decision that I have to admit was pretty gutsy, if you will. Knowing her popularity with the fans and how long term she had been with the comic as she was. But when it was found out when basically last year at the New York Comic Con, which just happens to be next month as well, which is going to occur next month. Ironically, it's going to happen next month. They revealed the full cover for 231. Now, when 231 the cover for it was shown for the first time before the NYCC if you will. It was just, a cover with a question mark and a silhouette. But pretty much even before NYCC, that cover already gave fans an idea of who it was that was going to be roboticized. And, again, I have to say it was a pretty gutsy move on Ian Flynn's part, to do that, because of the fact that, like I said, she's a long-term character. She had been with the franchise since the very beginning. Basically, her origins, many people may not know this, go all the way back to a male character that they had made called Ricky the Squirrel. And they decided to change the gender and make her Sally for the American and Western audiences, especially when it came to the comic books and the Saturday morning cartoon. So, it was a pretty gutsy move. But again, it really didn't come as much as a surprise to a lot of fans who who saw the cover at first with the silhouette on it and the question mark silhouette. In fact, a lot of people were drawing up what she would look like, and there was a lot of theories. Some fans theorized because basically the cover for 230 gave you an idea of what was going to happen, and then everybody was just drawing up their own conclusion of what she would look like. Some even drew up a fact that she was going to end up being merged with Metal Sonic. That, Metal Sonic and her were going to end up in that beam of light, and they were going to get merged together. A lot of fans were hoping maybe that she would somehow merge with Nicole. Even I was hoping with that, because it would have made sense. But apparently, like I said, Ian decided to go in the direction of roboticizing her. And a lot of people like down the middle. I mean, the fan base is basically split on that whole issue. Some have said that it redeemed her character and has made her basically by having her roboticized, Ian redeemed her character and everything and made her better than what she was and more likable. Well, others are like, well, it wasn't really necessary. You could have gone with another character. I mean, some examples of other characters fans would give would be like Bunny. You could have gone with Nicole, maybe even Sonic himself, or somebody else. But in my honest opinion, I think Ian did it because he wanted to show, as he had mentioned before any of this happened, that nothing was off limits. He wanted to show that nothing, not even the characters that have been with the comic long term, have been off limits. So I think that's why he did it as well. His decision to weaponize her, again goes back to one of the previous questions when it comes to Genesis, that I answered in Genesis, and that was to show that Eggman is willing to go as far. If Eggman was basically willing to go as far as to try to reset the world in his image, then he's willing to go as far as to modify and weaponize a roboticized individual to basically be an unstoppable weapon. Now, do a lot of fans like that as well? No, not a lot of fans like it. I mean, a lot of fans have basically come out and said, we don't like the fact that Ian did this to her. We don't like the fact that Ian did that to her. Some fans feel as though he had Eggman off panel basically tear Sally apart and basically rebuild her with weapons. Some have said that all he's done was just put extra armor onto her body with weapons. So, honestly, I can't really say. I can't really say anything else besides what I've been hearing. I mean, I've come out and I've been honest about it. I'm not too happy about it myself, but that's why I'm just letting things go the way they are right now to see exactly what's going to happen in the end. So, but again, I have to admit, though, it was a pretty gutsy move on his part. My thoughts on the crossover being planned for next summer. Well, I do know that 247 comes out in the spring of next year, because when you count it, 241 already came out this month. I mean, I got my copy a couple of days ago. 242 is next month, 243 is in November, 244 is in